Chief Calloway sat smugly in his office, convinced that firing Marcus Bennett had removed a problem from his department for good. But when the precinct doors swung open a month later and Marcus walked in, not as an officer but as the new head of internal affairs, the color drained from Calloway's face. What happened next sent shockwaves through the entire department and left Calloway facing the biggest reckoning of his career. But let's start from the beginning. The fluorescent lights in the precinct buzzed as Chief Robert Calloway leaned back in his leather chair, scrutinizing the man standing before him. Officer Marcus Bennett, a tall, broad-shouldered black man in his early 40s, stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his dark brown eyes steady, unreadable. The crisp navy blue uniform he wore was pressed to perfection, his polished badge reflecting the dull light of the office. Calloway, a middle-aged white man with graying temples, exuded an aura of power built on decades of keeping his department in order. He had seen officers like Bennett before, hard-working, disciplined, but in his eyes, never quite fitting in. There was an unspoken rule in his precinct, and Marcus had always seemed too ambitious, too willing to push back against the established way of doing things. "You know why you're here, Bennett," Calloway said, tapping a manila folder on his desk. Marcus didn't flinch. "No, sir, I don't. But I have a feeling you're about to tell me." The chief smirked, flipping the folder open. "Excessive complaints. Too many protocol violations. Too many questions about how things run in this department. And to top it off, your latest move, sticking your nose in that IA investigation. I warned you to back off." "I was doing my job," Marcus replied, his voice calm but firm. Calloway's smirk disappeared. "No, you were making a problem where there wasn't one. And I don't tolerate problems. You're fired." The words hit like a gunshot. Marcus's jaw tightened, his fingers curling into fists at his sides. He had served this department for over 15 years. He had sacrificed time, energy, his damn safety, all to uphold the law. But none of it mattered. "You're making a mistake," Marcus said, his voice low. Calloway leaned forward, his blue eyes cold and condescending. "No, you made a mistake thinking you ever had a real future here. Hand over your badge and gun." Marcus inhaled sharply but didn't argue. His dignity was worth more than begging a man like Calloway for fairness. Slowly, he unclipped his badge and unholstered his service weapon, setting them on the desk. "Good luck out there," Calloway sneered. "I'm sure you'll find something more fitting for you." Marcus turned without another word and walked out. But as he stepped out of that office, something burned in his chest. A fire that refused to die. Calloway thought this was the end. He had no idea what was coming. A month passed. Calloway barely thought about Marcus Bennett anymore. One less problem to deal with. The department had returned to normal. Officers looked the other way when needed, reports were adjusted before being filed, and the precinct ran just the way he liked it. That is, until an unexpected memo arrived, an official email from the State Police Oversight Committee. Subject: New appointment of Internal Affairs Director. Calloway skimmed the first few lines lazily until his eyes hit the name. Effective immediately, Marcus Bennett has been appointed as Director of Internal Affairs. His blood turned to ice. The department buzzed with whispers. Officers exchanged looks of disbelief, and Calloway's usual commanding presence seemed to waver. Internal Affairs was the one group Calloway had never wanted meddling in his department. They had the power to audit, investigate, and dismantle everything he had built. And now, Bennett was in charge of it all. Later that afternoon, the precinct's main doors swung open, and Marcus walked in, not as an officer but as the man who now had full jurisdiction over Calloway and his officers. Every pair of eyes in the room turned toward him. He looked different. There was a quiet, restrained confidence in the way he carried himself. No uniform, just a sharp, dark gray suit, a badge clipped to his belt, not the one Calloway had stripped from him, but one that outranked his own. Marcus smiled. Not cocky, not smug, just calm, like a man who knew that justice was finally tipping in his favor. Calloway stood frozen as Marcus walked straight toward him. "Chief Calloway," Marcus greeted, his voice steady. "We need to talk." Calloway's office had never felt smaller. Marcus sat across from him, flipping through a thick stack of files, internal reports, misconduct records, falsified case logs. Calloway's stomach churned. He recognized every document. "You had a good run, Chief," Marcus said smoothly. "But things are about to change." Calloway straightened. "You think you can walk in here and start giving orders? This is my department." Marcus set the files down. "Not anymore." Silence. "You fired me because you thought I was just another expendable officer," Marcus continued, his voice razor sharp. "But what you didn't realize was that I had already been offered the IA position before you pulled that stunt. I just hadn't accepted it yet." Calloway's face paled. Marcus leaned in. "And now I do have the power to clean up this department, starting with you." For the first time in his career, Calloway felt trapped. His reputation, his authority, all of it, could be destroyed with the evidence sitting on Marcus's desk. He swallowed hard. "What do you want?" Marcus's expression didn't change. "I want justice." For a long moment, Calloway didn't say anything. Then, reluctantly, he nodded. Within a week, Calloway announced his early retirement. The department underwent a full-scale reform, exposing years of corruption. And Marcus? He didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He simply stepped into his new office, the one that once belonged to Calloway, and got to work. Because real justice? That's not about revenge. It's about setting things right.